Tonight, Nigeria's ambassador to Sudan, Safiu Olanyo, exonerates the embassy from the bottlenecks associated with the evacuation of students from Sudan. Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs gives a breakdown on the expenditure of $1.2 million released by the federal government for the evacuation of Nigerians from Sudan. Some relief for commuters plying the Lagos-Ibadan expressway as the federal government opens the Kara and Long Bridge corridor of the road, calling for patience in the final phase of the reconstruction. And airstrikes continue to pound Sudan's capital Khartoum despite a truce aimed at allowing civilians to flee. But 2 weeks after an armed conflict between rival factions broke out in Sudan, it's not clear when Nigerians who are caught up in the crisis will be brought back home. Now, in the latest twist to the suspense, Nigeria's ambassador to Sudan, Mr. Safiu Olanyo, is exonerating the embassy from any wrongdoing in the delay in evacuating Nigerians from the war-torn country. According to Mr. Olanyo, the embassy is waiting for clearance from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and NEMA on the buses that have been procured for the exercise. In a voice message sent to parents and students, Ambassador Olanyo clarifies that the embassy was not in charge of procuring the buses, but it only follows instructions from the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry and NEMA.
I just want to let you know that the embassy is not in charge of the bus contracts. We have not received any money from anybody to hire buses. We are only arranging the logistics. Those who are arranging the buses are the Ministry of Humanitarian as well in Nigeria, as well as NEMA. So our own is to get the necessary instruction that this and this has been arranged, and that we should give instruction to the students to meet at so and so place. And that's, you are aware, we have been doing. The present arrangement that appeared to have broken down was also midwifed in Nigeria. We are in contact with them to correct whatever is not right with the contract, because students cannot continue to live on the street. I want to assure you that we are as vulnerable as you are, and we are not going to leave until all of you have been moved to safety and to Nigeria. So I am urging you not to take any action like I am hearing that you are planning to attack the family of officers. The officers and myself, we are all as vulnerable as you are. We have no food like you, we have no water like you, we have no light like you. It's not that we are living in a different world. This is war, and it's not tourism. So what you are experiencing is what we are also experiencing. But I'm assuring you that everything that needs to be done is being done. And within a very short time, the issues will be resolved.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs has been giving an update on efforts to evacuate Nigerians from Sudan. The permanent secretary in the ministry, Nasir Sani Gwazo, while briefing journalists today, explained the procedure for procuring the buses that will be used to move Nigerians out of Sudan. He also gave a breakdown of what $1.2 million was used for, explaining that more money will be required for the proper evacuation of Nigerian citizens.
Do you know that in Nigeria, if you transfer money from government account, it does not click because it has a dashboard that can be seen? They will stop it. So we had to alert them. And we sent this money, and it got delayed by the central bank system and what do they call it, SWIFT, the cash transfer, electronic cash transfer system. It got delayed. So they threatened they will not move with the buses. We had to get another means of sending the money to them. So right now we have money that is in transit going to them. They have agreed, but they needed more advance. And believe me, the Sudanese people that we have, the bus companies in Sudan, I won't be unfair to the Sudanese people. The bus companies will consider your advance as your money. Once your money is not there, and there is a difficult situation they are in, they are afraid it is a war situation. If you now finish moving people and you refuse to pay them, well, how can they get their money? So they stop at the number of buses they give you. We have faced this 3 times. So it is easier to criticize from outside if you don't know what is happening. And that is how the 1.3, 1.2. And believe me, whoever thinks that 1.2 million will be enough to move people from Khartoum to the border and airlift them to Nigeria is being foolish and naive.
Still on the plight of Nigerians in Sudan, the lack of proactiveness and failure to follow due process have been identified as the twin dilemma causing delays in the federal government's effort at evacuating Nigerian citizens from that country. That's according to Nigeria's former ambassador, Joe Keshi, who explains that the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has no business beyond border evacuation in the exercise. It says the responsibility for the evacuation falls squarely on the purview of the Nigerian embassy in Sudan. He was speaking exclusively to Channels Television.
When the evacuation phase started, that I asked the question, why are we not using the Air Force? Why are we not putting the Navy to use? Because this exactly, happens to be what other nations were doing. And I made a point that anytime you go across Muritala Mohammed Airport, you see the sea military transport planes all lying down there doing nothing. And I wondered why we did not put them to use immediately. Now, if the situation has changed, I think that we should just take as many as we can into Aswan in Egypt. Look, on average, those planes can take about 100 to 150, people at the same time. So if you fly 3, 4, 5, or 6 times, you'll be able to evacuate all the students now waiting evacuation in that place. And if you add the airpiece, generosity into it, I think in under 1 week, we should be able to bring all those students back home. And that's the reality. But the point I made earlier on, in my interview with Channel, was the fact that every time this happens, we pretend as if it's just happening. We've had so many of this happen to us in the past. And I can go and name the countries where this happened and we failed to, to be prepared. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I can assure you, have a template for doing this. But I think the involvement of so many agencies and the lackadaisical attitude of government itself, without having a concrete plan in place, has led to, the situation repeating itself over and over again. This is the point I'm making. Give the responsibility and the resources to the embassies to organize, hire buses, and send them to Egypt. Our ambassador and staff in Egypt will receive them. Look, when we evacuated from Sierra Leone, we evacuated to Guinea. And the embassy in Guinea was ready to receive us and made allowance for all Nigerians who were eventually taken out to Nigeria. And why are we doing something different now? What we should have done from day one was to give the embassy the resources to say, okay, if the Nigerian Air Force or the plane airpiece cannot land in Khartoum, please get all the students, put them in a bus and send them to Egypt. By the time they get to Egypt, the embassy in Egypt should have made an arrangement for them to continue their journey home. They should have been at the border.
Away from the evacuation of Nigerians in Sudan, and in response to the public outcry over the agonizing gridlock on the Lagos-Ibadan expressway following the construction work in that corridor, the federal government has now opened up the Kara Bridge and Long Bridge to motorists in order to ease traffic. Now, the Ministry of Works and Housing explains in a statement that the intensity of work and the high volume of traffic, which had to be accommodated at the same time, have been complicated by impatience on the part of some motorists. Our correspondent, Dari Idowu, was on the expressway today to capture the experiences of motorists and the current level of work on the road.
Flagged off in 2013, the reconstruction of the 127.6-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan expressway is no doubt one of the most talked about and reported road construction in Nigeria. The expressway is divided into two sections, Lagos to Shagamu interchange and from the interchange to Ibadan. Julius Berger is undertaking the reconstruction of the 43.6-kilometer stretch, a shorter but busier section. Mid-last year, a December 2022 deadline was announced for the completion of the project. Not able to meet up, the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, announced a new date of April the 30th. But on the deadline, the federal government opened the OPIC section, which is between Kara Bridge and the Long Bridge, to traffic. The ministry is confident that this will ease off the bottleneck spilling into the inner roads.
All the time when the contractor promised to deliver the project by end of this month, they also said all things being equal. To be honest with you, some factors came up. The contractor is on ground and working assiduously, full team. A couple of weeks, we should be able to deliver. Well, I will not want to give an exact date because of what I have told you. You know, we are beginning to experience more rain. So, and I don't want to give a date that will not be able to back up.
Traffic management officials have got their work cut out for them, but despite their efforts, it's been a long, enduring journey for everyone that plies this axis.
So far that they are doing construction, whatever the condition we meet on there, they have to be custom on our body.
Today's traffic has always been usual. So we're imploring the government to look into it so that all this headache we're having on, at times we spend 2 hours on this route. So going out of Lagos State is always difficult for us. So we're begging the government, for God's sake, they should help us.
The inner roads are also affected, blocked even on a Sunday.
And this has been a continuous something. It's a daily experience.
So it's not new to you?
It's not new to me. I'm used to it now. If in a developed nation, when you are doing a project like this, you don't close. Even night time is even the best time to do a project like this, not when people are busy on the road. See the obstruction, see what they are calling. This is economic sabotage.
I'm super frustrated, I must say. I'm not going to deny it.
How long have you been in this traffic?
So I've been in this traffic for about going to 1 hour now. There isn't a good time to do the road, yeah, I understand that, but they should look for a better way to handle it, right? I understand construction is long overdue, but please, they should help us.
Attitudes of some motorists are also considered to be part of the problem. As captured in this footage, the commercial bus driver drove against traffic on the already limited carriageway, but blocked by another commuter and forced to reverse. As construction work continues on this last stretch of this project, commuters who continue to spend hours of productive time and even spend the night on the expressway can only hope that this episode will be behind them in no time. Dari Idowu, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, we'll have more insight into the reconstruction work on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and we'll be joined by the Director of Federal Highways Southwest in the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, Mr. Adedamola Kuti. To join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria's ambassador to Sudan, Safiu Olaniyan, exonerates the embassy from the bottlenecks associated with the evacuation of students from Sudan. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs gives a breakdown on the expenditure of $1.2 million released by the federal government for the evacuation of Nigerians from Sudan. Some relief for commuters plying the Lagos-Ibadan expressway as the federal government opens the Kara and Long Bridge corridor of the road, calling for patience in the final phase of the reconstruction. And airstrikes continue to pound Sudan's capital Khartoum, despite a truce aimed at allowing civilians to flee. For more on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway reconstruction, I'm now joined by Mr. Adedamola Kuti, the Director of Federal Highways Southwest, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. He joins us from our Abuja studios. Great to have you on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
All right, so it's good news. The OPIC area between the Kara Bridge and, of course, the Long Bridge corridor has been completed for the motorists and commuters alike. But let me start by asking you exactly, when actually should motorists now expect the full completion of the reconstruction work on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, considering the several postponements of dates for the reopening of the highway in past months, including today, which is no longer feasible?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ayo. Like, you see, the earlier completion date of 30th of April, which happens to be today, we were unable to meet that target as a result of, some factors. Majorly, the heavy rain experienced since March and April, and of course, the unexpected, very heavy traffic. So, and as we move into the next month, you see, we are moving into May. We also do not expect the rain. We expect that it will still be heavy, and it's a bit difficult. But what we want to assure motorists is that we are determined. The government is determined to complete this project. We are fully on ground. As a result, as a matter of fact, the section that we opened up the OPIC exits, that's the Kara Bridge to the Long Bridge, open up this evening. And what is left is just like about a kilometer as you enter into Lagos. And then maybe another 2 kilometers once you are leaving Lagos, outbound Lagos. And we are fully determined, fully determined. We have enough equipment and men on ground to achieve this. Well, very, very soon, this will be over. But it's so difficult now because of the rains. And the effect of the rain, if I may just say this, is that, once it rains heavily in a day, it brings us back by another 2 days because you require some dry weather, to dry up the materials that is built, except if it's asphalt work you are doing. But if it's earthworks, you still require, because it has to be compacted, under a specified moisture content.
All right, so
for the fact that we are not in control of the weather, it's a bit difficult, but we are determined to complete it as soon as possible.
Okay, so you're telling us now that as soon as possible, the project will be completed. You can't give us a specific date, actually, at this moment in time. And of course, I would also like to ask you...
Because of the rain.
All right, because of the rain.
And the heavy traffic.
Well, some of the challenges that you've already talked about, are you saying that they weren't envisaged on the rehabilitation work? And of course, with May 29 fast approaching, how confident are you that this project, when it's fully completed, will be commissioned by the current administration?
Like I mentioned earlier, if the weather permits us, we'll be able to complete before the end of May. But as it is now, it will be a bit difficult for me to say precisely because we are not in control of the weather.
All right, so can you give us an update on the level of work done? Talking about Section 2 of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, that's from Shagamu interchange to Ojo in Ibadan, if I'm correct, in Oyo State. What can you tell us about that?
Good. On that Section 2, from Shagamu interchange up to Ibadan, that's up to Ojo, we've already completed work up to a place called Mufta Olaniu, Mufta Olaniu. That's around kilometer 115 kilometer. We've already gone beyond the whole toll gate, which is kilometer 105. So we've gone beyond it by about 10 kilometers. So we are right inside Ibadan. And you recall that the Honorable Minister mentioned earlier that, we have the state government, your state government carrying out some drainage work, construction of culverts along that area, precisely at 3 locations at kilometer 116, and then, of course, that junction that leads to Old Ife Road. So work is also progressing seriously on that side. And, of course, another team is coming from Ojo, coming towards this direction, coming towards the other direction to ensure that we complete this project as soon as possible.
All right, so finally, what other features are we likely to see on the entire length of the highway in terms of support infrastructure, especially street lighting, street signs, perhaps speed limit indicators, drains like you already talked about? And what plans are there for enhanced security with the states, talking about Lagos, Ogun and Oyo State, on the project going forward?
Yeah, the features are already there. Like on the Lagos the section 1, we have provision for street lighting, especially in the township. And then, of course, by the time we enter into the second phase, wherever we believe that street lighting should also be provided, will be provided on section 1. The same thing applies to, to the section 2 of the project. But the most important thing for us is to get the road itself, to connect from Lagos to Ibadan. And as regards the issue of security, we're working with with police, essentially. The last time I was with the commissioners of police in Ogun and I think Oyo State, we are working with them to ensure it's actually their own duty to ensure that there is adequate security on this road. So for now, we are working with them. And then, of course, as you must have noticed, all the cries along Long Bridge has abated. You don't have anybody stopping on that Long Bridge any longer because the stretch on the OP Kazix, which created a bit of bottleneck last year, December, November, has been completed. And then nobody is stopping on the Long Bridge any longer. So the issue of security breach has been eliminated on that bridge.
All right, we'll definitely leave it at that. Mr. Adedamola Kuti, Director of Federal Highway Southwest, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, we thank you for your thoughts on the news at 10.
Thank you for having me.
Let's move on. Given the experience of the 2023 general election, the appointment of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, that's INEC, as well as resident electoral commissioners should now be handed to the National Judicial Council, as previously recommended by the Justice Uwais panel on electoral reform in 2007. But that's the view of co-convener, Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, Mr. James Ugochukwu. He told Channels Television's Ladia Keredoluale on our Election Issues and Personalities Tracking Program, Roadmap 2023, that given the incident that followed the Adamawa governorship supplementary election, this is now an urgent task for the process of further electoral reform.
Let it be that if we need our next chairman, we'll ask people to submit their application. The National Judicial Council should look at the applications, reduce the candidates to 3 or so, and of course, take it to National Council of State, to pick one of them and all that. These are the kind of things we are looking at, not the president just picking somebody out of recommendation from party members. And at the end of the day, we will start crying that there is a manipulation of the election or no manipulation. So we should take away that burden from whoever becomes the next chairman. Let it be open for everybody to participate, and we choose our next chairman. The same thing goes for REC. Like, for instance, when they were appointing the last REC now, we raised dust about 4 or 5 of them, that have a relationship or allegiance with state government. Some of them have even contested governorship position and all that. Some of them are card-carrying members. We cried out to high heaven, but they still went ahead to allow these people to become rec at the end of the day. So these are the things we should not be dancing to and fro from. We know the right thing to do, and of course we need to tell ourselves the truth that this is the time to do the right thing. Because the thing is, if we keep on messing our electoral process like this, the whole world is watching, and we'll get to a point that we'll become a laughing stock in the Committee of Nations. And if we are doing an election, nobody will come because they'll be afraid of their life. They will be even concerned at what is going to change in this people's election that is what's even coming to observe and all that. And we'll just be isolated in the scheme of things.
For the full interview with Mr. James Ugochukwu, do watch Roadmap 2023 tomorrow, Monday, May the 1st at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has sued the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for failing to probe state governors and their deputies over alleged electoral violence. A SERAP by this action has been added to the list of plaintiffs INEC will be facing besides political parties at the courts. In a suit filed at the Federal High Court, Abuja, the rights group is seeking an order of mandamus compelling INEC to seek the appointment of an independent counsel to investigate allegations of electoral offences against state governors and their deputies during the 2023 general elections. The group maintains that this is necessary following reports of widespread voter suppression and intimidation by political party agents and thugs across the country, explaining that such probe will advance Nigerians' rights to freely participate in their own government. A group of concerned Nigerians under the aegis of the Labour and Civil Society Front is urging the judiciary to restore the confidence of Nigerians in democracy ahead of the commencement of sitting by the appeal court on the presidential election petitions. The group, which has a former senator representing Kaduna Central, Shehu Sani, and the former ambassador to Ethiopia, Mrs. Nkoyo Toyo, as members, briefed journalists at the Labour House in Abuja about the concerns they have concerning the general elections.
As vanguards of Nigeria's democratic heritage, we are calling for a return to a rules-based democracy in which Nigerians can remain hopeful that their sacrifices of participating in elections will ultimately count. Therefore, as affected individuals and parties resort to the courts as the main conflict-resolving mechanism, we hope that the judiciary, as the final arbiter, will ensure that the malfeasances of those powerful individuals and their corrupt allies will not be rewarded, but rather they'll be discredited and punished.
We doubt whether judiciary is still the last hope of the common man. Now the destiny of the country hangs on them. This is either they fulfill it or they betray it once again. There's a lot. The acronym "go to the court" these days is now shameful. When people tell you go to the court, they are telling you that that's the end of the matter. Somebody will steal your yam and say go to the court. On what basis are those statements being used? That's the level of ridicule that the judiciary has been brought to. And as Nigerians, we all need to come out to rescue the judiciary, or else there will be no need to continue to, go to court.
Let's head to the north-central part of the country and some sad news. An unspecified number of persons have allegedly been abducted after bandits attacked some communities in Paikoro local government area of Niger State. The incident reportedly occurred on Friday and Saturday when gunmen attacked the villages of Esan, Koitapi, Wuda, Loitapi, among others. They are said to have operated for several hours, carting away cattle and cash, while many houses were destroyed in the affected communities. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, have seized 126 parcels of Canadian loud a synthetic strain of cannabis weighing 63 kilograms concealed in a used Toyota Corolla car imported from Toronto, Canada at the Tin Can port in Lagos. This is even as an attempt by a freight agent, Modi Chukwemeka Samuel, to export 900 grams of the same substance, loud, hidden inside walls of a traveling bag containing food items to Kenya, was thwarted by NDLEA officers at the Sako export shed of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, on Saturday, April 29th. Also, in Benue State, operatives of the NDLEA have recovered 859 bottles of codeine-based syrup weighing 117.3 kilograms, abandoned by a suspected dealer by some kilometers away from a checkpoint along the Enugu-Otokwa Road. 2 suspects were also arrested with 20 blocks of cannabis weighing 11.2 kilograms concealed in a bag of cassava flakes along the Zaria-Kano Road. The National Population Commission, NPC, is assuring Nigerians that this year's National Housing and Population Census, earlier scheduled to hold from Wednesday to Sunday, that's from May the 3rd to the 7th this year, will still hold at a later date to be announced soon. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the Director of Public Affairs of the Commission, Dr. Isiaka Yahaya, explains that the census was only rescheduled and not postponed indefinitely. He adds that the new date will be announced after the incoming administration of Senator Bola Tinubu has been sworn in.
The 2023 is something that is a process that has started. So you can't really postpone something that has started, but it's only a part of it that has been rescheduled. So we want to provide explanation around that. But maybe if you call it reasons, we'll do that. The second one is to also guide against misconception, misrepresentation around this issue of postponement. We believe that we can count on you to take the right message here and explain things as they are. So that's the second reason. And the third and final one is to appraise you of the next step ahead. The statement by the Honorable Minister of Information actually talked about this. That's the President has directed that preparation for the 2023 census should continue.
Let's talk education now. The Registrar of Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, Professor Ishak Oloyede, has commended the conduct of the ongoing 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination across the country, describing it as smooth, despite the initial hitches experienced on this first day of the exam. Professor Oloyede, who gave the assessment in Lagos while monitoring the examination in some centers, also explained that examination malpractice has drastically reduced because of measures introduced to check and tackle the menace. He, however, expressed disappointment with the conduct of 20 computer-based test centers found wanting nationwide, adding that they would be sanctioned for failure to comply with the guidelines governing the conduct of the UTME.
I'm so impressed that even throughout the country, the level of examination, impersonation, examination malpractice that we have now, minimal, very, very minimal. Minimal, in fact, below the international standard. There is always room for improvement anywhere. I cannot pinpoint and say this is the area, but if you can see that, yes, our CBT centers, they have improved a lot. Up till now, maybe we have less than 20 out of the 708 that we eventually. So we should also tolerate, we should also be tolerant of the fact that we cannot be perfect overnight. If JAMB should establish its own center, 708, there will still be human beings. We won't import people to work there. There will be the human factor. Everybody is working well. The centers also have improved, but that does not mean that the 20 centers that have failed, we will not sanction them. We will have to delist them because the moral problem is that we also had problem on the first day. What right do we have to sanction them? But we expected those problems because we are trying something. You have been on with us. You knew that these are our standards. If you fail to perform, the fact that on the first day we had a problem will not debar us from still sanctioning those who could not. Because as far as we are concerned, there is a standard. and the standard must be met.
To health matters, and in case you didn't know, Nigeria is now the second country after Ghana to grant provisional approval for the new malaria vaccine R21 from Oxford. The vaccine R21 Matrix M, believed to have at least 75% efficacy against malaria, is developed by the University of Oxford and manufactured by the Serum Institute of India. In this next report, our correspondent Benny Ark looks at the vaccines and the reactions that have so far trailed it.
The R21, otherwise referred to as Matrix M malaria vaccine, is the second vaccine ever developed for a disease that claims more than 600,000 lives each year. The vaccine is said to show a 75% protective efficacy in children aged under 5.
As you know, the vaccine we are talking about is targeting children. Currently, especially the one for Oxford, is for 5 months to 36 months. So that is clear. So most of the vaccines, or the vaccines that are being developed, are relatively for the under 5 rather than for adults. I need to make that clear because there's a lot of expectation. And adults think that also, the vaccines are for them.
With the provisional approval of the new malaria vaccine, experts say they expect a positive impact on the reduction of the country's current malaria burden.
Annually, we lose about 260,000 children in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, annually, which is that's a large number. Even if it's one child that is lost because of malaria, it's important that we understand that that's a big loss to the family and to the world at large. So the addition of the vaccine to the bouquet of interventions around malaria is important because it helps in sense of further mitigating what the impact can be on Africa in the long run.
We expect that it will really reduce, 1, mortality in children from malaria, 2, the severity of malaria in children. So those are 2 critical indicators which we think it will impact on by the time the vaccines are administered.
Processes that usually go through, and you've also explained why.
The Director General of Nigeria's National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, who spoke earlier on our breakfast program, Sunrise, said that the approval process for the R21 Matrix M malaria vaccine is not over, as more clinical trials are required before it gets the full approval for use in Nigeria.
Why we gave provisional is that, first, this vaccine was not tested in our country. It was tested in 5 African countries, but did not include Nigeria. Therefore, it is our belief and strong opinion that it should also be tested in our country. Africa has similar disposition in terms of environment and what could affect the effectiveness of vaccine or any medicine for that matter, but we insisted that it should also be tested in our country.
Professor Mojisola Adeyeye also spoke further on when the clinical trials are expected to begin.
The clinical trial will begin within the next 6 weeks. I've been talking with the manufacturer, with the market authorization holder in Nigeria. So the clinical trial will begin very soon. The experts have suggested colleagues, younger colleagues in the universities that will be part and parcel of the clinical trial. The fact that Ghana, which is maturity level 3 organization like us, approved this also provisionally. And now we also did a provisional approval, suggests that we are going somewhere. A regulatory agency must be strong enough in terms of having a critical thinking mindset to be able to evaluate judiciously a particular dossier or the other and come up with a decision.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark World Malaria Day, coinciding with Africa Vaccines Week and the World Immunization Week, there is still the need for proper policy funding and education in the efforts to get Nigeria and Africa to zero malaria. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
The era of banging tables is over. Workers and employers must now understand the role of collective bargaining and social dialogue in national development. That's according to the keynote speaker at the Trade Union Congress maiden edition of its annual dinner and awards night, Habiba Lawal, held at the International Conference Center in Abuja. Now, according to Mrs. Habiba Lawal, trade unionism plays a critical role in the socio-economic development and cohesion of any economy.
Solidarity forever.
Members of the Trade Union Congress sing solidarity songs to commence the maiden edition of the TUC annual dinner and award night in Abuja.
Solidarity forever.
The event attracted dignitaries from the oil and gas sector, as well as top government functionaries. In his welcome address, the TUC president explains the rationale behind the event.
I'm extremely excited to be standing before you today to welcome you to this event, because you are the men and women that have turned the face of work in Nigeria. You are the men and women who said, no, you must pay us living wage. So, comrades, I wish to welcome every one of us to this event. I want us to relax and enjoy every moment, because we strongly believe that we must give back to Nigerian workers.
Thank you so much.
For the keynote speaker, the event provides an opportunity for workers and their employers to reflect on how to reduce friction and build cohesion through social dialogue.
While recognizing and applauding the TUC for their hard work, diligence, and sacrifice, I'm urging the leadership to continue to build on the areas of political will, trust, and commitment to engage in social dialogue by all parties. As far as government is concerned, it improves the democratic process. It promotes national integration and hence development. Social dialogue is an inclusive and democratic way of making decisions, and in this way, the challenges that can affect social peace can be solved.
The high point of the event is a presentation of awards to the awardees for their various contributions to the welfare of Nigerian workers.
Congratulations, Your Excellency.
Some governors, including the governor of Edo, Gombe, and Rivers State, who were all represented here, also got awards for their outstanding performance and the payment of pensions and gratuity. The TUC Dinner and Award Night is a new innovation the Workers' Union says it will use to cultivate and strengthen mutual relationship between workers and their employees.
And now to the arts. Introspection is a traveling exhibition by contemporary artist Muyiwa Akinwolere at the Stott Pyramid Arts Center in Lagos. The artist presents works of art that capture social issues in a light-hearted and sarcastic way. We see some of these images on Art Review tonight.
This traveling exhibition of visual illustrations, Muyiwa Akinwolere's sarcasm, has finally come to the Stott Pyramid Art Center in Lagos with a tale of a bard in a show titled Introspection, which expresses the artist's thought process.
To introspect is to think deeply, to reflect. And the idea is it's about illustrating my thought process over a period of time. I have created different body of work for many years that I've been practicing, and I was thinking that I would like to have a show where all these different body of works that depicts the movement of how my career has evolved over the years, I could pull them together in a show. so that it could not just be for the show alone, but as a sort of documentation of what I've done in a period of my career.
In this documentation, the stories, which are told through an array of exciting paintings, explore different issues in the society, from the political, social, economical, emotional, and other aspects of human existence, especially within the Nigerian space, by being sarcastic.
Muyiwa Akinwolere is an artist who is very sarcastic. He looks at the situation of the country, I mean politically and socially, and he talks about them in a satiric way, even though they are funny, but they are visuals that make you think, that makes you look at what's happening and what you think you can do. Why are these things happening? So in a way, when you look at his works, you tend to start questioning yourself for what is happening around you. So that's why you may want to engage his works.
The topics displayed by Muyiwa Akinwolere in this solo show are issues that people will be able to relate to and hopefully affect their peace of mind positively.
Interesting pieces of art there. Let's move on. And outside our shores, airstrikes have pounded Sudan's capital Khartoum despite a truce aimed at allowing civilians to flee. The army said it was attacking the city to flush out its paramilitary rivals, the Rapid Response Forces, RSF. The fighting intensified even as the warring side said they would extend the truce by another 3 days. More than 500 deaths have been reported, with the true number of casualties believed to be much higher. Millions remain trapped in Khartoum. Army Commander General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and RSF Chief General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, better known as Hemedti, are vying for power and disagree in particular about plans to include the RSF into the army. Cuba's communist government has cancelled Monday's traditional May Day parade because of acute fuel shortages. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people are bussed in from across the islands to fill Havana's Revolution Square on International Workers' Day. It's the first time since the 1959 revolution that the celebrations have been cancelled for economic reasons. In recent weeks, long queues have formed at petrol stations, with drivers often waiting for days. Earlier this month, President Miguel Diaz-Canel said Cuba was only receiving 2/3 of the fuel it needs, adding that suppliers were failing to fulfill contractual obligations. U.S. President Joe Biden has attacked news outlets over what he calls lies of conspiracy and malice. The United States president was speaking during the 2023 White House Correspondents' Dinner. According to the American president, a free press is a pillar to the society.
Truth matters. As I said last year at this dinner, a poison is running through our democracy and parts of the extreme press. Truth buried by lies, and lies living on as truth. Lies told for profit and power. Lies of conspiracy and malice, repeated over and over again, designed to generate a cycle of anger, hate, and even violence. A cycle that emboldens history to be buried, books to be banned, children and families to be attacked by the state, and the rule of law and our rights and freedoms to be stripped away.
Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's Golden Eaglets have begun their quest for a third Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations title with a 1-0 victory against Zambia in Group B in the opening match played earlier today. While the match recorded a goalless draw at halftime as both teams were defensive-minded. Favourite Daniel scored the only goal of the game on the 77th minute when he pounced on a loose ball in the area to score for the Eaglets. Nigeria, of course, had a golden opportunity to increase the tally towards the end of the game, but substitute Light Eke missed a penalty. In England, Manchester City beat Fulham 2-1 to leapfrog Arsenal and go top of the Premier League table after recording yet another impressive victory under pressure earlier today. Newcastle and Manchester United also recorded wins to close in on a top 4 finish. Liverpool maintained their unlikely pursuit of a Champions League place by beating Tottenham in a 7-goal thriller at Anfield. Meanwhile, as it stands, Man City lead the table with 76 points from 32 games. They are closely trailed by the Gunners Arsenal on 75 points, but have played 33 games. On the third spot is Newcastle United with 65 points. In Italy, Naples was primed to celebrate its team's third Serie A title today, 33 years after its last championship. But now fans will have to wait some more. And here is more and other sports on the news across the globe.
Napoli fans flocked to Maradona Stadium on the day they could clinch the Serie A title. But will have to wait a bit longer to seal a first Serie A title in 33 years after being held to a 1-1 draw by Salernitana on Sunday. Runaway league leaders Napoli needed to win to secure their third league crown with 6 games remaining in the season after Inter Milan beat closest challengers Lazio 3-1 earlier in the day.
To women club football, Barcelona women's team clinched the league title earlier today with a 3-0 victory over Sporting de Huelva. The undefeated Barca squad claimed the Liga title with 4 matches still to be played after winning all 26 of their matches so far this season. Sunday's win was the Blaugrana's 61st straight league win. Well, the match also marked the return of Ballon d'Or winner Alexia Putellas to league play after she was sidelined with a knee injury for nearly 10 months. And the main news again. Nigeria's ambassador to Sudan, Safiu Olanyo, today exonerated the embassy from the bottlenecks associated with the evacuation of students from Sudan. The ambassador, who was reacting to alleged reports of plans to attack the embassy staff, appealed for patience from Nigerians as efforts are being made to evacuate Nigerians from that country. Also, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs has given a breakdown on the expenditure of $1.2 million released by the federal government for the evacuation of Nigerians from Sudan. And of course, the federal government has already opened the axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, that's the Kara Bridge corridor, and the Long Bridge corridor in the Opik area to motorists today. And airstrikes have continued to pound Sudan's capital, Khartoum, despite a truce aimed at allowing civilians to flee. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Have a good night.